Today we're going to be diving into some of the best tips and advice around being an AI product leader in 2026. We have Alex Zinoviev, head of product from Neo Intelligence, co-founder of one of the best AI communities in Australia, GenAI Lab. Let's get into it.
Been feeling quite invigorated in the last couple of years with the rise of GenAI. I'm able to build stuff and design stuff and get my ideas out of my head and into a working, software a lot faster. Doing it by yourself is a extremely difficult task. I came to Australia 17 years ago. Wow. For 10 years I was a web developer and even worked as an engineer at some point. Having, doing engineering full time wasn't my thing. Yeah. I quite enjoyed the variety of the work, and so product management is where I naturally landed.
When Steve Jobs and these others made Apple, it wasn't just technical skills, although it's arguable what tech skills he had.
The thing that I preach even around creativity is the element of no individual person is ever going to have the best creative outcome compared to the variety of skills that come together to build something.
I get motivated by the fact that there's a community around me, and the commitments that I'm making, I'm not just making them for myself, but I'm also making them for the community. I think if I had to put Australia globally on, there's definitely, I think, work to be done.
Yeah, that's a nice way to say it.
Yeah. There's definitely
very
work to be
political,
done. And I pick your tool and just stick with it. I also used to jump from one tool to another, but there's an opportunity cost to it because you're never getting deep into a single tool and making the most out of it.
And you can use AI to actually accelerate the learning curve.
Yeah.
That usually would take longer.
100%.
Be it not for AI, we can actually learn pretty quickly.
I don't know if you've watched any of my episodes. You've watched all of them, right?
I watched them.
What do you mean? That's a silly question. Of course he's watched all of them and
Yeah.
stuff. He's had AI read it all and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Do you remember that one where Chris was talking about the Martian? No, I'm just joking. But yeah, thanks so much for being here. This has taken a little bit of time for us to finally get you in here and stuff, because you've been so busy, and so have we.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about. There's a community angle, but then there's also the work angle as well. But before we get into it, Chris and I, we'd love to know, and for the community of watchers out there, can you tell us a bit about yourself? You came to Australia. How long ago was that?
I came to Australia, it would be 17 years ago, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm originally from Russia. I left Russia in 2001. Actually, in 2000, I went to the US, and that's where I finished high school.
Whereabouts?
Studied. I'm Midwest, north
cool.
of Chicago.
Wow.
And that's where I spent 7 years of my kind of formative years. And then after that, I moved to Australia in 2009.
You could have. I was almost thinking that you might go, well, I moved to West Philadelphia. I was
Born and raised on the playground as a Erispan.
good old Fresh Prince. But yeah, you came to Australia. What brought you over here?
Look, I was actually looking for a place where I could settle down long term. And so I came, I applied to different universities around the world, and Sydney ended up being the place where I landed. And yeah, looking back, I think, it was one of the best decisions I've probably made.
That's so good. Oh,
Yeah.
what, Sydney Uni or
I went to Sydney University. Yeah, I did my master's in marketing and
Oh, wow.
international business.
Ooh,
Yeah.
fancy.
Yeah.
And that's led you down quite an interesting product career path, though.
I started as a product manager in 2011.
Yeah.
Well, I guess a bit of background before that, for 10 years, I was a web developer.
Oh, wow.
So
Didn't know that.
I was doing web development since high school, really. Since I was 16, I was just really obsessed with, building for web.
Yep.
And even worked as an engineer at some point in Minneapolis as a full-time
Okay.
job, but very quickly discovered that having, doing engineering full-time wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed the variety of the work. And so product management is where I naturally landed, because it was kind of, for me, a fun combination of design, product, and engineering all wrapped into one role.
Because you bring like the sort of technical background into a sort of slightly creative but more, management driven product delivery. Like, so you can talk to both sides of the, your C-suite leaders and the technical teams and align those two.
Yeah.
You get a lot of product managers who don't have that technical background, sort of just, they kind of sit more on that C-suite side of things, and you can see the difference in, I guess, the combination of skills and approaches that occur out of that.
You say that
not strong.
You say that sounding like someone who is from a product.
Yeah, that's yeah.
We're two product guys here, folks. I wear the technical kind of hats.
Yeah, I don't have the engineering coding, although I've dabbled in that stuff obviously in my career. I come from more the production producer background, so I work mainly a lot of agency side, working with the technical teams to build stuff. So I definitely have the understanding of the technical aspects of things, but I've never been hands-on with code to have that skill set to bridge the gap, particularly from an engineering side of things, which is very fascinating.
I think it's fascinating that you came from like a web development background, because it's not just that, okay, I've learned the theory of how things work and all that kind of stuff, and now I'm going to help run and manage the product, but you've actually been in there. So there's that technical aspect that I think is really important. It's, when Steve Jobs and these others like made like Apple, it wasn't just technical skills, although it's arguable what tech skills he had, but it's like technical skills plus calligraphy. Like, he was really interested in design, and that's why Apple have these beautiful products, because he understood that commingling of skills, and this commingling I think is great in terms of what you do.
Agreed. I mean, that's the thing that I preach even around creativity, is the element of no individual person is ever going to have the best creative outcome compared to the variety of skills that come together to build something.
Yeah.
If you think of design thinking and design principles, human-centered design principles, it's all around sharing that creativity to build something.
When I was in college, web development or product management degree wasn't.
It wasn't a thing. Yeah,
it wasn't a thing. There was nothing like that. There was a computer science degree. There were business degrees, but there was nothing that, even product design wasn't a thing back then, to be honest. So what I ended up doing is, in and around the web development, I tried to figure out what are all the different aspects of the process that I need to know about in order to create a beautiful digital experiences. So I ended up extending my major and studying an extra year, so I could take art classes, graphic design classes, photography classes, advertising classes, because in my mind it was all adjacent skills that you needed to understand and know in order to create a beautiful digital experience. So,
that's amazing. And is it helping?
100%. It's helping me all the time, because I was studying fonts, for example, and typography, and like getting really deep into that subject, and it's helping me on a weekly basis, because whenever I'm creating a presentation for my work, I use those design principles, spacing and colors and and everything, which makes my communication better and clearer. Same when I'm posting on LinkedIn, like I'm using those skills to help me, I guess, convey my ideas and present them in a more visual kind of way. Yeah.
Amazing.
I would say fonts is probably my weakest design skill from all the design work that I do. It's such a unique talent to being able to align the right fonts together, not having everything look the same. Like you said, the spacing, the style, matching cursive styles with Roman styles. It's like there's a unique skill to seeing things together that look really good.
Is that where all the stuff that you send me is always in Times New Roman?
Always crap. No, I'm a Calibri. Is that what is the
Calibri?
That's the standard font that everyone uses now.
Yeah.
You've got all those skills that you brought together there. And it's really interesting that you recognize that it's a shopping cart of skills. It's not just like the one big item, but you invested in all of these. And I would argue that having that variety helps place you in many different fields and be able to thrive and succeed. And we'll get into the stuff that you're doing. But, how do all of these things get impacted by the fact that, hey, we're in an AI and a generative AI kind of world? Like, what does that do to help amplify the things that you've already built up skills in?
Well, I think I felt been feeling quite invigorated in the last couple of years with the rise of Gen AI, because I feel like I could tap into those skills again, but more from a very hands-on perspective.
Wow.
You know, I could be I'm able to build stuff and design stuff and get my ideas out of my head and into a working, you know, software a lot faster. So it reminds me of the days of the early, you know, web development in my career, where I would just stay up till 2 in the morning trying to create something. It's a similar feeling, like you just you're the feeling of empowerment to be able to do more.
You still stay up to 2
I was
a.m.
gonna
though,
say,
right?
yeah.
But like you're creating more, you get further. So it's not like people are like,
exactly it.
oh, I get to sleep in. And like, no, I'm still gonna stay up to 2 a.m. It's just I'm gonna make a whole lot more of the product. Is that the case, or do you actually get better sleep? Just out of
I
curiosity.
do get better sleep.
Okay.
I have to. I've got 2 kids,
Amazing.
so family is a big priority for me. And I think over the years, you know, 15 years in product management, I have, you know, my share of burning out and learning through
Yeah.
my mistakes of how to balance my life in the right way. So actually, what I do with the time that I gained back from using, you know, Gen AI to help me with day to day, I reinvested back into learning things, or I reinvested back into things like family.
Amazing.
How do you find the time? Because like you're, and we'll as we mentioned, we'll dive into a lot of the depths of everything. But you have managing your product career, working in the many agencies and businesses over your time. You have launched GenAI Labs. You have a family at the same time. You're tinkering and practicing. How do you balance all of that?
Yeah,
Everything.
it's a daily thing. But
the battle.
if I can maybe go back to how GenAI Labs started, that would be part of the answer, because um, when, you know, 2 years ago when GenAI Lab started, I knew that my career, my profession is going to go through a major shift. And, you know, I and everyone kind of I know in that space would need to adapt. But being part of many transformation programs in the past, I also know that doing it by yourself is a extremely difficult task. And starting a community was my way of surrounding myself with like-minded people who are on a similar journey, and basically creating a space for us to do this, go through this change together. So I get motivated by the fact that there's a community around me, and the commitments that I'm making, I'm not just making them for myself, but I'm also making them for the community, which makes me kind of motivates me a lot to put more time and effort and invest a lot more than I would have otherwise if I was just doing it for myself. So it's that kind of shift of me doing it not just for my own sake, but for the community is where I find that extra energy to.
So let's be real, you are staying up till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
No, I don't stay up till 2 a.m., but I do work on weekends occasionally. Yes.
That's okay. Well, when you're passionate about something, it doesn't feel like work. And
I wake up early though.
Yeah.
That's my trick. I
there
wake
it
up
is.
early.
That's your secret sauce.
Yeah, I don't stay up late, but I wake up early.
My girlfriend, like we've spoken about burnout and all of these things, and I've experienced some levels of that with changes of career and just being inundated with just seemingly so much stuff going on that you have to manage. And so finding a way to balance is very, very commendable. But in terms of like the passion that you've got for a thing, I think it makes it really different, because burnout kind of happens when you have these disconnects. Like you're not connected to the work, but you're not passionate about it, or it's just too much of a boring thing that you're not happy with. Like, does this help? You mentioned like it's helped bring back some of the skills that you had there before. Is part of it passion? Does AI help you have that passion for these things? Is that what helps you work on weekends and stuff like that?
Yeah, look, I think that I I think throughout my life, I've had different passions, and whenever
Okay.
have been passionate about something, I would just learn everything I could about this topic, and I think lately AI has been my real passion. So this is just something that I find myself thinking
Mm.
about every day,
Wow.
all day.
Right, like right now,
Yeah,
while you're answering this question,
exactly.
and your
Yeah,
mind's thinking
exactly.
about
Yeah,
something there.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think the fact that there's a community around me
Yeah.
reinforces that learning loop
Yeah.
and
Yep.
that trajectory in continuing to learn, because I can see what others are doing as well.
Yeah.
And the more I know, the more I realize that I don't know. And so
Which is
that's,
beautiful.
yeah, and which is great. And I think, having interactions with people that are doing really cool stuff, on a frequent basis through the community,
Mm.
through organizing events and so on.
Yep.
Yeah, it gives you that more inspiration, I guess, to push things further and implement them in practice.
I want to get to the community side because you just mentioned it there, and Chris and I were lucky enough to participate in a few of your events as casual watchers to begin with, then
We'll have
to
some embarrassing clips to push
yep,
in here
we will
from us failing on stage.
we participated from being like just watchers to begin with and going into, hey, we want to help out and film one of the events, and we were lucky enough to have some of the guests from that show, that the event that you had come on our show with Nicole Gibson, etc. Now the latest event that you had, thank you again for having us on the show. And as Chris mentioned, there's going to be some embarrassing stuff there. But I want to talk about that community side of things, like the creation of it. Like you said, there's a learning loop that you have there. What are some of the things that you really love about running GenAI Lab?
Look, I love the fact that when you come to one of these events, you are surrounded by people that have the same frequency, and that is hard to find.
Mm.
That's the reason why I started the communities, because 2 years ago when I looked around, I just didn't find anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in between jobs at the time,
Mm.
and I thought to myself, if there was a time to do something, I don't have any excuses not to do it.
Exactly.
But yeah, in terms of the actual, I guess, learning and the ideas exchange, it's the quality of the people in the room makes a big difference. The quality of the speakers and the people that come on the show, like yourselves, makes a huge difference, because it inspires people to look beyond what they're currently doing and look slightly ahead. The reason why we like to keep these events really practical and grounded in what is it that you're actually working on right now
Mm-hmm.
is because we want to showcase people something tangible that they can just grab on
Yeah.
and run with right after the event. I've had people reach out to me after the event saying, "Hey, I've just signed up to ChatGPT."
Oh, really?
This was a while ago, but still, like, it's that spark, that inspiration, that sort of next action to, okay, you've come to the event, you got inspired, and you actually then did something about it.
Straight away.
Kind of is a great outcome, in my opinion, in terms of what we're trying to achieve. And same thing happens to me, even though I'm organizing these events and running them up. These events inspire me to do basically the same thing. Go away, try new things, apply it in my day to day, come back and share the learnings, whether it's via LinkedIn or, in group discussions like this. Yeah.
Because you recently just had the 2 year, which was where we
Yes.
were lucky to
Yeah,
have a
exactly.
conversation. How has that journey been over the last 2 years, starting from where you were when you first had this inception in your mind to want to create this thing, to where it is at now? Because you had a fantastic turnout on the day. It's one of the probably the great AI communities of Australia right now.
Yeah, thank
Great.
you.
You are
Thank
all
you.
over Australia. You're in
Thank you.
3-4 other locations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seeing the
thank you.
Melbourne event
Yeah,
being advertised,
you.
I'm like, I wish I could go down there.
Yeah.
How's that journey been?
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. I'm so grateful, and one thing I'll mention is that it's not like 2 years ago I sat down and I thought, oh, 2 years from now, I'll be sitting
Yeah.
next to Mark and Chris talking about how amazing
You-
GenAI Lab.
I thought you would have.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
it's sort of the journey unfolded, bit by bit, and I just followed my intuition and followed the energy, I guess, of where it was taking me. And instead of kind of saying no to opportunities, I just kept saying yes to different opportunities. So when Amazon invited us to host an event, our very first event, we said yes, and then when 130 people showed up, we kind of realized, wow, this is our very first event. No one's ever heard of us, and we're getting this kind of turnout. Let's do it again. And
Yeah.
so we did it again with, at Domain. We did it again at Canva, and
Yep.
then Google, and lots of other really cool places. And every single time, I think we were able to attract just genuinely top talent in Australia that was willing to share what is it that they're working on in a very practical way. It's always been my criteria for selecting the speakers.
Yep.
Because if I wanted to create an environment where people go and they feel like they got 10x value for their time invested. These are the kind of events that I myself prefer going to.
Yeah.
And so, our agenda is pretty, I guess, tailored towards let's get to the crux of it as quickly as possible. So that's why we don't have any sales pitches or kind of promotional, segments inside of the event, because we just want to deliver as much value as possible. Another big thing for us, which was by design, in fact, is the diversity of the crowd. As you all probably know, when you look at the statistics, 80% of people showing up for tech events are male. And
Yes. I've seen that,
from the very first event, I wanted to change that statistic for GenAI Lab specifically. And in the early days, it was very, very manual. I would actually keep all the males on the waiting list and let the females in just manually, just so we can get the balance right.
Yes.
But the beautiful thing that happened after doing it for a few events is it just started happening naturally.
Yeah.
And that
Brilliant.
50-50
The culture's there then.
50-50 balance split became something that I didn't have to kind of create.
Well, you had to nurture it and stuff to begin with. Like,
yeah.
it didn't just happen naturally. Because I think if it sounds like if you left it, it would have gone that
It
way.
would have definitely gone that way.
Right.
And then, I've tried really hard to create the right balance inside of diversity inside of the audience. But then after a certain event, and maybe after our third event, someone made a comment to me on LinkedIn. Hey, I noticed your speaker panel is all males. And I really took that to heart, and I said, let's change that. Let's have the next event, all the speakers will have top women in AI presenting.
Brilliant.
All of them.
And there's a lot.
And this, exactly. And this is how the Canva event came about. We had
Yeah.
all female panel on that event. And this is where we really broke into the product design space, because, initial audience for us was product managers, but we really attracted a lot of product designers when we did the event at Canva. And since then, we've just tried really hard to maintain that 50 balance, not just from the audience perspective, but also from the speaker and the presenter.
I think it's really hard to especially where coming from the blockchain space as we have, and we do a lot of our work. Like Chris and I, our day jobs is in the AI space, but we run a blockchain community that is pivoting more towards having AI as part of it. But it's also not very easy to find that balance of getting the right kind of what you're talking about in terms of diversity, the speakers, and sometimes the talent, it just isn't. Well, it's not that the talent isn't there, sorry, you just don't have the numbers. I see in blockchain, in AI, there is so much more of a balance in terms of the talent pool, but you're right, the speakers, it's been imbalanced. So I'm glad that you are making that a priority.
It's pretty well known, Google research into the best product teams in the world and what makes them, the best. And one of the biggest factors in that equation is diversity, diversity of thought, diversity of experience. And that's exactly how I thought about the community as well. It's that diversity that's actually going to bring the best outcomes for people in the room, as well as for, for the speakers as well.
Like you said, it's culture, it's capabilities, it's skill, it's gender, it's all of that is what diversity brings to the equation.
Exactly.
It's one of the most powerful things, even when you come to product and innovation and doing work within business, that plays such a critical role that people don't realize as well. And there are actually organizations that focus on trying to improve that diversity in organizations. Too often people think they get too narrowed down, or, oh, it's just the gender imbalance. It's like, no, it's much bigger than that. That's not what diversity means. It's not male versus female. It's that's the whole picture.
Exactly.
But also, what a place to kick that off with in Canva, because
exactly.
run by obviously one of the co-founders, probably one of the most influential women in all of Australia,
Mel Perkins.
Incredible woman herself. That must have been really awesome to be presenting or have your GenAI Labs present at that location.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. That's where I met Kristen as well, and Kristen and I have collaborated on so many things together since that time.
Amazing.
And this is where we had Mon Pasha, who was, leading charge on some of the really coolest magic, Canva magic sort of AI features. So it was amazing. It was an amazing event.
We've got a lot of great talent here in Australia in the AI space. You mentioned Canva, they bought Leonardo. We've got folks like Relevance AI. We've got Build Club and like all these like amazing communities. Yours is like right up there, as Chris and I mentioned, as one of them. But the talent of the people that are building stuff within companies, the startups that are out there, we've had so much of these folks like coming through, and we've only just gotten started with these sorts of interviews, right? Like, where do you see our place in the AI ecosystem? You've been so deep into it and running these communities. Where do you see Australia at in terms of that global AI ecosystem?
Oh, good question. I think we've come a long way. Like especially in Sydney, it's having gone and done events in other cities in Australia, I can tell that there is a difference between geographically within Australia itself. But I think we're very lucky in Sydney to have such a big diversity of talent, as well as communities that people can come and participate in. I think if I had to put like Australia globally on, there's definitely, I think, work to be done.
That's a nice way to say it.
There's definitely work to be done. And I think that big part of that work is fostering the right kind of innovation culture. And I think we're getting a lot of help, and I think the communities are actually part of the answer to that, because through community we're changing that culture. Like, for example, given the fact that Australia is a much smaller market, globally speaking, I think there's tendency for people to, keep their learnings to themselves, because, there's only one or two really good players that can exist in this market. So you don't want to kind of give that competitive advantage away too quickly. Whereas what I'm seeing in by the way, most of my product inspiration comes from the Silicon Valley. Like, I've kind of most of my learnings come from that place as well, and I like tap into that knowledge and culture as much as I can. But what I'm observing there is a much more open ecosystem of just sharing and connecting, and just openly talking about exactly what I'm working on.
Love it.
For the benefit of the other person going away and doing something with it.
That should be the attitude, right? Like, if you win, I win. That should be the attitude.
I mean, that's the kind of, we've spoken to some people. I mean, this came up with the annual hour conversation, who heads up the Build Club, which is now a global community of developers and tech entrepreneurs. And her experience when she is living in Silicon Valley was that they have these little, these houses that people obviously are go to, and the hacker houses, right?
Yep.
These small communities essentially where people come together and they are helping themselves within these environments. And that community mentality is much lacking around Australia. So it's awesome to see that that's your focus, is how do we bring that community together to learn from each other, because that is how people evolve, that's how they benefit.
Yeah, and I think also in times of great change, what you see also from people is, especially with the amount of hype that's happening on social media and everyone everywhere around you, what you often lack is a trusted network that you can tap into for a trusted advice and trusted guidance on what I should be doing. And I think
Agreed.
I think communities have a incredibly big role to play in creating that environment. And I think that's the reason why GenAI Lab has been so successful, is because when you come, to those events, you get a feeling that you can openly share, and there's a trusted kind of circle of people around you.
I think you touch on a lot more than if you were to build a company on its own and just like create some innovation, become like a Canva, no one hears about you, slowly builds up over time. Maybe it creates movement, but it's harder and takes longer. But if you are doing this community thing where you've got so many different touch points and people are seeing it, able to get there and be part of it, or not just participate like us, but just be amongst that network, I feel like you've got more touch points to create, not just you start with community, but you end up with a movement, So I think it's vastly important, the type of stuff that you're doing there.
Yeah.
So I want to get into, I don't know if there's anything more on community side.
There is, because like GenAI Lab is much more than just these monthly community events. Like you guys you have a training, you provide support to people who are going through this AI change in the world. Like talk to me a bit about that service that you guys have.
Well, this is again the actually when I created GenAI Lab, I called it Lab because the original idea and the original thought was those small amounts of people getting together and actually building stuff together. So workshop style kind of environment. And our very, very, very first event was 12 people in Surrey Hills building an app that was taking voice and converting into a user story.
Amazing.
But by the end of that 3-hour session, people walked away with an app, which is really, really cool 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you can probably prototype it in 5 minutes. But anyways, we then started organizing bigger events. But the idea of having these hands-on workshops has always been in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And what we just naturally started seeing from the audience is that, out of 100, 150 people that come to the events, there is a percentage of people in that audience that are asking themselves a question of, what's next? Like, you got me really inspired and pumped. I want to do something about it. And this became the solution for those people. This is the reason why we organized workshop series in partnership with Torrens University, which was a shout out to them for supporting us.
Yeah, massive.
We recently did an online cohort as well to open up that format to more people, just geographically speaking. But I think we're the only ones doing Gen AI workshops for product and design people in Sydney that are face to face in that format, which is why I think it's a dying thing with it's a big demand,
moving people online, and obviously AI taking over. It's definitely becoming less and less a thing for these training things. So it makes a world of difference being there in person, having those experiences. I wanted to dive more into the product side of things, and obviously your journey into where you are now, which is Neo Intelligence. Product, as we discussed earlier on, is like it's a big space that I'm very passionate about as well. How have you seen the change of product over time leading to where we are at the moment with AI? How has it impacted, I guess, the role of the product person in corporations, in business, in product, building products?
Yeah. I think it's important to make a distinction because there's a lot of new terms that have been thrown out. One of them is AI product manager. I think it's important to make a distinction between product managers that are building AI products and features and product managers that are using AI to help them do their work.
Good point.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, good one.
if I talk about the category of product managers using AI, 2 years ago, it wasn't the thing. Nowadays, it's almost expected that
Yep.
you have those skills. And I think this is the transition that every single product manager has to go through. And many of them are, on that journey, but some of them are just starting out, right? Is that AI is going to be part of your daily toolkit. And you as a product manager, no matter which product you're working on, or whether you're working on AI features or not, doesn't matter,
yeah.
but just a product manager, you have to acquire new skills in order to leverage AI to help you do your work. Those skills may be things like, understanding large language models, understanding the evaluations, understanding, how how you can leverage this new technology to help you. AI automation, is another one. Prompt engineering is another skill. So these are all these different skills you now have to acquire in order just to do the job that you've always been doing, which is product management. And then on the, because there's also new tools you have to learn as well.
Daily.
Well, like my recommendation would be pick your tool and just stick with it. I also used to jump from one tool to another, but there's an opportunity cost to it because you're never getting deep into a single tool and making the most out of it. So whatever tool you end up using, just stick with it for long enough for you to actually take a deep dive into all of its capabilities.
And you can use AI to actually accelerate the learning curve.
Yeah.
That usually would take longer.
100%.
But be it not for AI, we can actually learn pretty quickly.
Yeah, you can definitely, yeah. Yesterday I was working on an AI automation for my sales team, and instead of trying to figure it out on my own, I asked one of the sales person to record a Loom video of their process. I put the transcripts through AI and asked AI to create a a JSON file for me that I can import into an AI automation tool to basically recreate that entire workflow. But it's a completely different way of thinking how you achieve a task, I think, to how it used to be. So you have to acquire those new skills. You have to learn new tools. And I think the last thing I want to mention in that space, which I think is a harder one, is you actually have to adapt to new ways of working.
Yeah.
And
Constantly changing.
Well, that's the thing with we're all pretty much used to lean agile ways of working, okay? And that's fantastic. There's been guides and documentation written, and if you want to take a course on it, it's quite established. Like Agile's been around for more than 20 years now. AI ways of working are emerging. It's something is currently being created so there isn't a final blueprint or rule book for how you do it. We're actually in the middle of creating it, and I think GenAI Lab and myself personally, I want to be part of creating it as opposed to kind of watch it from the side and seeing it unfold in front of me. So that's the exciting part for me, is that I feel like it's a constant change, I think, that you have to be comfortable with.
And you're helping shape that change, I think, which is important.
It is.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Neo Intelligence and what it is.
Yeah, so Neo Intelligence is a software as a service product. It's for commercial construction industry. And we essentially have a product that allows field workers that are doing construction record timesheets, record compliance requirements on site. And then we also have the offering for the back office staff to process payroll, keep track of productivity, and many other things. So a platform for operational platform for construction businesses.
Brilliant.
Have you seen the adoption of AI into organizations such as yours? Like, so a lot of the things that we hear, especially when we're talking with large orgs, is, you know, they're too often they have these strategies of let's just implement AI here, let's just put that there, and not really talking to people. And it sounds like you're very engaged on the, hey, let's just see how this moves with people.
Yeah.
Have you seen that experience
Yeah,
within your business?
yeah, I have seen it. Certainly, like a year ago, I think every CEO told their head of product or CPO to have AI on their roadmap.
Yep.
And
how?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
exactly. And as a result, I think, yeah, people put stuff on the roadmap and they released a bunch of AI features. But I think it was done in a bit of a rush just to kind of showcase that we are moving in the right direction. But I think the true kind of value and AI unlock, really comes from deep thinking about who your user is, what their pain points are. AI may not be a good solution for solving those problems in the first place. So it's being able to understand whether AI is a good solution for that. And then if it is, then applying, design thinking principles to actually go through a process of creating a solution for it. We're currently doing that at Neo Intelligence, and releasing AI features that help our users in really meaningful ways. One of the examples, of the things we're working on is, again, the thing you have to realize is that AI is powered by data.
Yep.
So that becomes your competitive advantage. And so part of the product strategy, if you're gonna be competitive in an AI native world, which we're heading into, you have to think a lot about your data assets, and not just any data assets, but unique data assets that you can't get anywhere else.
And
only then you can start creating unique AI experiences on top of those unique data assets. So that's something I think a lot about. And I guess fortunately for Neo Intelligence, we're already collecting a lot of proprietary data from the field and from the construction side, but we're constantly introducing new features that allow us to collect even more unique data assets. And so it becomes a reinforcing growth loop where you are continuing to grow in your core product, building features that allow you to capture more unique data assets, which then feeds into creating more unique experiences for your users, which then you can reinvest into building, again, better product. So
I think it's really interesting that you talk about data as being this integral point, and it really is. Like, I mean, from even before a generative AI space, just AI in general, data analytics, data science, machine learning, it is like bad data leads to, bad outcomes. But in the Gen AI world, I don't think it's just data like, okay, what documents, what notes, what numbers and stuff do we have, and what, information points. But data and what gets put into the AI is also that's the context side of things. It's also the instructions. And we found that when you have the right sorts of context and the right instructions broken down into the basic steps, you lead to less hallucinations and you have a better quality experience. So I would argue that it's also the instructions and the expertise basically that you guys can bring into this that forms part of what is good data. And if you're doing all of those things, then it's going to be an amazing future for Neo Intelligence. So well done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and going back to those, skills that you have to acquire, you're talking about, prompt engineering, for example, is one of those skills. I think you have to kind of learn those skills and apply them, inside of your product to create better experiences. Yeah.
Conscious of time.
Quick fire.
Quick fire. We do, to finish things up, we always do some little quick fire questions just around the things that you've experienced and kind of what you're doing right now. You've been on an awesome journey through our product, as we've talked about, and creating GenAI Labs. What kind of advice, if you could start again, would you give yourself building GenAI Labs for the first time? GenAI Lab for the first time. What advice would you give yourself if you go back?
If I had to go back, I would let go sooner. And what I mean by that is the 2-year anniversary we had a couple of weeks ago. was an amazing milestone for the GenAI Lab community, but for me personally, it was a milestone because it was the first time the event was organized by the community, for the
Yes,
community.
yeah,
And if I had
yeah.
to go back, I would have done that sooner,
Yeah.
right? I
That's
wouldn't have waited for 2
Mm,
years for that to
mm.
happen. I would have triggered that a lot sooner. Yeah.
That's amazing.
As a product person and people who are going through, trying to level up their career and their experience within the product space, what's the one advice you would give someone going through that journey right now as a product person?
Yeah, I think my advice would be get hands-on.
Mm,
You know, you could be watching YouTube videos and taking courses. It's not, that's not getting hands-on.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
getting hands-on is actually, creating something and being part of that creation process. And if you need inspiration and you want help, to do it with other people, which is what is typically, gives you that extra motivation. Yeah, you can join communities. And I think that physical interaction does make a difference as well.
Yep.
Hugely.
When you see others doing it. So participate in hackathons, for example. Participate in those hands-on kind of building events where you can do
Absolutely.
it with others.
Such good advice.
Yeah.
Last question. Obviously, we talked about tooling, focus on the tools that and be good at that one thing that'll help level you up. What are the tools that you're using right now that inspire a lot of work that you're doing?
Right now I am
AI
using
specifically,
yeah
obviously.
AI tools. Right now I'm using Lovable for prototyping,
Fantastic.
but probably every 4 to 6 weeks I go back and I just reevaluate all the prototyping tools to just check
Yeah.
what's happening in that space.
We've been talking a lot about that. I'm
yeah.
like,
We showed it.
I am so into Manus right now. It is
Yeah.
Yep.
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've been using Relay app for
Nice.
just AI automations, and this isn't
Very cool.
so much for product management, but just broadly to empower people cross-functionally in the organization to create AI automations. Because there's a lot of hanging fruit just in that space alone.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there's good apps for that. I've been experimenting a lot with DevRev, which is a customer support. So at New Intelligence,
Nice.
I look after customer support as well, and I'm constantly looking for ways to improve our customer support with the help of AI. So taking it from, I'm chatting to customer support and I'm getting help from AI agent to this next step where AI agent can actually execute tasks for me.
Actually solve the
Actually
problems.
solve the
Yeah.
problem. Yeah. So I've been experimenting with DevRev quite a bit
Fantastic.
in that space.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Awesome set of tools there, and I'm sure that there's many more that we'll learn about as we get to collaborate together.
Yeah. Thank you.
Alex, thank you for joining us. Any last plugs? Do you want to tell everyone about GenAI Lab and other things?
Yeah, come join the community, participate in our workshops. We've got some coming up next year.
Yep.
And stay curious, keep learning, and all the best.
Great advice.
Love it.
And looking forward to 2026 for GenAI
you.
Lab.
Thank you.
You heard it
Thanks
here.
for joining us. Cheers.
Thanks
Thanks.
everyone. Catch you later.
See ya.
See ya.